Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tigers Tonight. John Maddox joined right now by just the best co host in all the land, who looks like he is in the friendly confines tonight, fresh off of a exciting. No, you're not on the friendly confines.
I'm not. I'm in Las
Oh,
Cruces,
you're still there.
New Mexico. I just got here, as a matter of fact.
So tell me about the bet you lost to end up in Las
Man, I'm
Cruces.
going to tell you what. And it was nasty one too. So here's the. So whenever you do a favor for a friend, and they call you up and go, "Hey, will you help me with this job in Jonesboro?" Okay, yeah, we can go do that. And you end up having to go for the Jonesboro job to first Charlotte, which is fine. Charlotte's fine. Charlotte. And
Direct
then,
flight, whole 9 yards.
yep, that's fine. It's fine. Then you end up in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Oof. I mean, and of course, you're never doing a friend for that dude again. So there you go.
Now, we're waiting Bryan Moss to come back. Brian's having a little internet trouble, so I hope to get him on here in a few minutes. But hey, it's time finally. We came off a win, 26-10 over Tulsa on Saturday, or on Thursday, rather, at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. Larry, your thoughts?
I will simply say that a win is a win, right? And as you're famous for saying, John, as long as you got more on the left than on the right, you're good, right?
Yep.
This was not a work of art, and it was not pleasing to the senses in any sense of the word. But again, Memphis came out and did what they had to do to win, and that's you get 2 early touchdowns, and then basically you kick 4 field goals after that.
Yeah, Chris Howard, AAC Special Teams Player of the Week, and now we're going to welcome from a snowy Northeast our friend Bryan Moss. Or has the snow started yet, or are you still anxiously awaiting?
No, the snow has started. How's my sound? Am I still choppy?
A little bit, but you're better.
Okay, so yes, gotta love that snow. Just a little bit of wet on the internet lines, and the whole thing goes kaput. But yeah, no, it's snowing right now.
Awesome. Well, great for you. Terrible for us because it's cold as all get out here. And we'll talk about this in a few minutes, but the high for Saturday is just ridiculous. It's awful. All right, Bryan. So let me get your thoughts on the game on Thursday, a 26-10 Memphis win over the Tulsa Golden Tropical Depressions.
I thought it was a good overall performance. You know, the offense obviously did a lot better job. I'm sorry, the defense did a lot better job than the offense. And when I was watching this game, rewatching it today to prepare for tonight, it just seems like the receivers and the Memphis receivers has a bet with the Memphis defensive backs who can drop the most passes. Can the receivers drop more balls than the defenders can drop the interceptions? Because it really seemed like the Memphis defense dropped like 75 interceptions during that game.
They dropped 3 that I can recall.
Yeah.
Not to belabor the point, but man, I don't know that I expected them to be good, but man, was Tulsa bad. I wasn't, especially offensively. I was a little surprised, Larry, at how inept they were offensively.
Yeah, given that Philip Montgomery's known for being an offensive coach, right? They played 2 different quarterbacks. Neither of them were very effective, and they just looked lost offensively, right? I mean, they didn't block. Their receivers didn't get open. I think, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like midway through the second quarter before they got a first down. Or maybe they got one and then they got one on the first drive and then they didn't get another one until like midway through the second quarter. It was really, really, really tough. And especially given the fact that we get the ball to start the game, cough it up, give them basically a short field, and they got the 1 first down and then kicked the field goal. And guys, they really never threatened until after that, until I guess midway through the third quarter, when they went forward on 4th down, didn't make it, right? mean, this was defensively for us. It was a really good game. But man, John, you're right. I'm trying to think of I know we beat them really bad here once, by 70 something points. I think Riley's senior year, but man, this is just about as bad offensively as we've seen Tulsa in a long, long time, right?
Yeah. Just pulling up some of the stats here. I know I'm not really supposed to do this, but hey.
Well, they only had 100 yards of offense in the first half and only 107 in the second. I mean, it's just
and you look at the drive chart. After that first drive, they get a field goal. They go punt, 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 INT, punt, punt, fumble, punt, downs, punt, and then they finally get a touchdown. No drive longer than 8 plays or 46 yards or 2 minutes and 32 seconds. And Larry, that's the one that you're dead on. That's the one they turn it over on downs. 14 drives, 6 3-and-outs. The big thing that kind of jumped out to me with this is the field position. They averaged their own 27. Memphis averaged their own 39. Memphis had a couple of just long plodding drives that ended in a field goal, that 13-play, 64 yards, 7:33. That was a nice drive. That really, I mean, the game was probably out of hand at that point, out of reach anyway, but that really just, we've talked about those types of drives before. That is just a demoralizing drive. A little pedestrian, I think, offensively, and Bryan, I don't have room in this office for the number of dead horses I've had to beat this year, but 39 carries for 79 yards against the 108th rushing defense in the country.
Yeah, and this is what, second week in a row that it was. I guess there's a lot of weeks in a row that it just. Yeah. I don't think Memphis has had a 100-yard rusher this year, have they?
No.
I don't. Hopefully next week that you'll have a 100-yard rusher. But if they don't,
they better. We're going to get into that. They better.
And if you don't, that would be the first time in a long time. I'd have to do some research. Even the Porter years, I think, at least had a 100-yard rusher in a game.
Yeah, and we'll have no Brandon Thomas going forward. His season is over
watching the Tulsa game, I've said it 1,000 times. I was like, to me, Asa Martin should be your starter. Hope, and I think Ducker will get the start because he's listed first on the depth chart. But to me, he's shown more. He's produced more than all the other running backs, and it showed in this game as well too. That he had 4 less attempts than Ducker, and Ducker had 1 more yard.
Yeah,
he produces. Use him.
Yeah, I don't understand it. Never have. Don't pretend to. Never will. All right, gents, what do you say we go to the film, as the kids like to say? So this play gets me excited. This is the first touchdown for Memphis. This is the long pass to Javon Ivory. And forgive my poor telestration skills, new software, just trying to work out the kinks. So you've got the bunch down here, which is almost impossible to defend anyway. And up here you're isolated, which I think, Larry, is kind of a tendency to go to the ISO side whenever you have bunch. You don't typically go there. You're going to go ISO. But I thought it was interesting. You got a zone look here, and you still pulled it off and went deep.
Well, and so what he's reading, he's going to read that cornerback over on the weak side. He's looking. If you look at what Seth's, he's actually looking that way. Because he's going to read, if that cornerback plays zone right there, and he's going to do one of two things. He's either going to go right over the top between those two guys, or he's going to look down below. If he gets a zone look, he may look to the deep middle here, because I think he's got a double drag. So, but what you get is you get a corner blitz on that weak side, what we call the weak side. Well, once you get that, now you've got one-on-one with a safety and Javon Ivory. So that's going to be his main read right there.
Yeah, and as we I couldn't take all the ESPN illustration away, but that's what ESPN saw. They saw that and the safety. And as this rolls, it takes a second. But when we get right here, let's go a couple more frames.
John's about to get excited, folks. This is
right here. So here's what John's excited about. I mean, the route's great. That's pretty and all. But I want you to watch what Ducker does right here. Dude, Ducker ruined the corner's day. And frankly, that's what gives Seth the time to get this throw off. And credit
he climbs up in the pocket too. If you look, he climbs up in the pocket because Ducker blocks out, and Seth climbs up the pocket and makes the throw.
Because if Seth doesn't climb the pocket there, the corner does the right thing. He's driving Ducker straight back, but Seth, and then we'll back it up. Now let's look at Ivory. Well, this play is dead right here. It's over. It's night.
He's cool. The safety is done right here.
He's dead, and that's because he's gonna. We'll roll it forward a little bit. You're gonna see here. He just basically gets caught flat-footed, and right here is when it's over because there is no way he's got his hips turned out here, which I think Larry, you were trying to explain. He's trying. He doesn't know which way he's going. So
correct. He's not sure which way. He's not sure Ivory's going to go out, and I think Ivory's reading him. If he has his hips like that, he's going post, and you see Hennigan recognizes the post. Once Ivory makes his cut, Seth cuts it loose.
Bryan, I'm not a professional, and I don't claim to be. I'm not a physiologist by any stretch. But number one, I don't think my feet go that far apart. And number two, that is just ridiculously poor technique right there because now he can't do anything. There's nothing he can do because he's so off center.
Yeah, and it loses him time. And that's what that gives Ivory some time to get separation. And then it's over.
And like we were talking about, Ducker picks that up. Seth kind of climbs the pocket just a little. People talk about mobility with quarterbacks. Like, this is so Dan Marino-esque right here. Like, Dan Marino couldn't run the football, but what Marino could do is he knew how to climb the pocket a little bit. And Tom Brady's really good at that too, in being just mobile enough. But, man, if you're Philip Montgomery and the defensive staff, and I want to roll this forward a little bit more here, what in the Sam Hill are your guys doing? Like here. And I know it looks like he's close, but this is over.
He's not. It's done.
Yeah, because he's trying to come out of and he didn't even backpedal there. He just tried to turn and run, and that's a recipe for disaster. But, I mean,
he's leaving.
Yep, and if you're the defensive coordinator, I mean, you're looking at this and going, what's this guy doing? And you even go back off the snap. I will say that bunch formation has killed many a man. Let's go all the way back here. So when he breaks, this guy, don't know what he was doing. He turns inside. And so now Seth is covered because if Seth has to get rid of the ball, he can go right there. This is just good play design too by Tom Cramsey. He just had so many options. And then, he's doing the right thing, right, Larry? He's bailing deep.
Yes. He's got deep out.
He's got deep middle. He's doing the right thing.
Yep.
The linebackers are covering anything under here, although when you go...
The linebackers should have flared a little more.
Yeah, because when you go bunch like that and you start breaking guys out, then you're kind of, I guess, as a linebacker, caught in no man's land there because you don't really have anybody to cover.
I'm wondering if that cornerback blitzed sort of just kind of on his own. Like he recognized that and went for the blitz. I'm not sure that was part of the play design. I'm being 1,000,000% honest.
Yeah, I mean, because I just feel like you've got too many guys just running free here. And actually the linebacker here does a nice job coming out and grabbing the tight end. to take that away. Because if Ducker doesn't get that block, that's probably the tight end is actually probably the first read, because that's we don't talk about this enough, and because we talk about quarterbacks and misses, but look at how long that throw
I'm thinking that Priestcorn is they're bracketing Priestcorn because he's like the main primary receiver. That's probably their in their game plan. It was to bracket Priestcorn off the line. So if you go back, John, I think that guy's bracketing Priestcorn right there. He's looking at Priestcorn. He's bracketing him. In the meanwhile, this guy's kind of running down underneath him. I think that's their game plan, was to bracket Priestcorn.
All right, so we talked about that. Let's move. I want to play this because this is Bryan and I talked at length about this before we got started. This is a things are not always as they appear video. So, Bryan, what was your first thought when you watched this play?
Yeah, my first thought is Hennigan should have handed it off instead of keeping it. It just watching it real time. I'm just like, hey, why didn't you hand that off? Why did you keep it?
So here, again, I'm just learning these controls, so it takes me a second here. I got it somehow on quarter speed. But here, what messes everything up is this guy right here. This old boy right here. He's going to mess everything up because he's going to eventually come down and blitz. And, as I roll this forward a little bit, you'll see when he steps down, Memphis is confused. Now, if you look, this guy stepped down too, but he's going to drop. And we'll stop it right here. So now in this scenario, it is the right guard's responsibility to get out here and cut that off. Because then if he cuts that off, roll it forward a couple frames. Look at that. If he can get that cut off and Martin can get there, that's a nice gain. But does the old... when I played offensive line, my favorite blocks were the lookout block, is where the guy ran by me and I yelled look out. And the second favorite block, I'm going to try to reach and grab the guy. So Bryan's point, and it's good. If this guy gets blocked, then you hand that football off and you hit the hole. Now, knowing how Memphis's running game has gone this year, you probably run right there, but that's neither here nor there. But now when you don't get that blocked, Seth has to keep that, because if Seth doesn't keep that, Larry, would you agree that's probably a fumble?
Yes.
I think he gets his clock cleaned pretty good. And again, and Bryan,
or it could be a fumble for sure.
You talk about this all the time, but this is another one of those little things, just little execution mishaps that mess things up. Just very little details, like we were talking about with the safety. Look at the guard's feet. Like he can't, with his whole body turned in like that, which he never should be, because his only responsibility is outside, regardless of who comes, because this guy's got this guy, you're double teaming here. He's irrelevant, really. So as you come out of your stance, you got to get your hips around, and you actually need to be more, instead of here, you need to be more here between the yard lines, because if you get there, physics say that's where he's going to be. And as you watch the play run through, that's where he ends up, actually 2 more yards. But again, Bryan, it's just the little things and the little bitty lack of execution that has killed, especially the running game this year.
Yeah, roll that back just a little bit and play it again, because it seemed like the offensive line kind of took a step in again instead of out. See, he took that right foot and goes in as the defender's moving around. I'm like, your foot's in the wrong spot. Why? I mean, it's the little things that have killed you, all season. And it didn't kill you, during this game, but it could have if Tulsa was playing better.
His feet are a yard apart. Literally a yard apart. So he has all you young football players out there, I've said it twice tonight, when your feet are in that position, Larry,
Yep.
you're in a lot of trouble because you can't, your body can't do anything.
Right. You have no base. One of the things that I know we've all seen this, where the guys are basically going side to side and they're jumping over the pads that are sitting on the ground. You know, you're trying to keep your feet, your base under you as you go from side to side. He's not doing that right there. If he has a better base, he's able to shuffle his feet out, and he can chip that guy. All he needs to do right there is
touch
chip.
him. Just touch him.
Chip him. And that's all he really needs to do right there. In fact, I'm 100% sure that a chip block is what he's trying to do. But if you watch his feet, Brian, John, you nailed it. His footwork is so bad that he all he can do is reach at this point. That is the epitome of poor technique right there. And again, we've all seen those drills that those guys do, and they run laterally, picking your feet up. And the reason you do that is you're practicing keeping your base underneath you as you go from side to side. He does not do that here.
Well, and I'm going to credit number one here from Tulsa a little bit, because not only does he get inside and disrupt the play, but he pushes Seth way outside, and now here cometh the cavalry.
Yep.
And Bryan, you talked about this. We'll show this play in just a second, but this is another one of those extra hits. All right, I got a bone to pick here.
Oh, Lord.
Let's clear this
Here
off.
we go.
All right, stop it right there. What's that look like?
It's targeting. It is.
It
doesn't matter who he targets.
Well, not just that, but he has lowered his head with the intent to deliver a forcible blow to a relatively defenseless player. Now, as we roll forward here, he ends up targeting his own man. But, that's what we talk about all the time with the inconsistency of the application of the rules. Right there. That's targeting most of the time, if the guys in the black jerseys are doing it. Okay, moving on. So now let's talk about a couple of the bad with Seth on Saturday. So this is Thursday. Good grief. This is 2nd and 6. Let me get that back to at least 1/2 speed. So this is 2nd and 6. Tulsa is showing zone here all across the board with deep safeties. So, all right, this has always bugged me. And Larry, maybe, or Bryan, either one of you can shed some light on this for me. Seth is looking over here. He sees the corner, what we used to call prairie dog it. The corner stands straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we not snapping the football? When Seth sees, that should be a go, because if you stand up like that, like, look at how much time he had a full 3 seconds to reset his body. And all you got to do is snap the ball. Okay. All right, Larry. So talk us through or Bryan, doesn't matter who. Talk us through what Tulsa's showing you here.
You got two deep safety, and you've got man over. So what's going on here is on the top end, you've got your wide receiver and your split back. They're playing zone here at the top. And what he's probably going to do, I'm assuming, you got the safety running deep out. So if this man at the top goes around, he's got him, and this guy on the inside is going to be picked up by the cornerback or the linebacker either way. Yeah, if he comes in like that, that's correct. And then on the bottom here, you've got one man coming out. So this linebacker is reading the running back. Is the running back going to go out, right? He's reading that running back. And then you've got a man over top on the bottom. So this is a classic zone coverage that they're playing with a man up underneath. That's what you're looking at.
All right, so let's see. All right, so in Larry's own words, this guy is watching this guy.
Yep.
All right.
And he falls back. Oh, and then you've got a guy, the pre-score leaks out at the top.
Yeah, let's
It's
roll that back just a second.
It's a tight end.
Yeah,
So
Bryan, he just kind of chip blocks here, right? He just kind of
Yep. And
it's the old pretend block.
So you see how the linebacker at the top follows this guy running around. Well, I think this play is designed to get Priestcorn. You got 5 yards, the first down, because he's going to leak out and be right at the top. He's wide open. He should be wide open. Yep. That's what
So now, but Bryan, I wonder, and this is again another one of those little things. Does Seth see that and go, "Oh crap, I gotta go"?
Yeah, well, if he does, he should feel it. And if you know your tight end is your little hot route there, come up a little bit and dump it off. And that's I don't see
line
that.
the pocket and dump. Yep.
He's open. Go throw
right now,
it.
he's open right now. You have no pressure.
But then totally look back to the left.
Well, and that's what we talked about this last week, guys. Look at Seth's head. It's out here somewhere. I don't know what he's looking at.
Bottom receiver, probably.
Yeah, that we can't see here in the screen. But then right here, Seth has made the decision to run. Seth is still, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage here.
Look at Prescore right there, and he's still open. And you would have.
And isn't that another tight end right there? Yeah, that's not. Yeah, okay.
Nah.
So, all right.
And nobody's downfield, so he can still pass. But this guy's no longer open because the linebacker's recovered. But if you look up top, I'll bet you Prescorn's still wide open because there's nobody up there.
Yeah, and you've got the corner of the safety coming down to take this away.
Yeah, now you're screwed. Now it's game over now.
Yeah, now you have to run. But Bryan, this is another one of Seth does a pretty good job getting down, but of just taking an unnecessary hit. You just you don't have to take that hit.
And like we said last week, I think we said it last week, it's an overcorrection where beginning of the year, we're like, oh, Seth needs to run more. Seth needs to run more. And now it's like, okay, you now you're running too much. I mean, so you need somewhere in the middle. Look for those little hot reads. Yeah,
you're right. And this is a good example of that. All right, so Tulsa's showing blitz here. I don't remember what they did, but they're showing basically a house blitz here, single safety, still zone. These guys are going to zone up. When he goes in, and those who don't know, whenever you see usually you see a man go in motion and you see this guy follow him, that tells you that he's got man.
Right, man to man.
Yep, and that's always quarterbacks look at that and. That's how because this looks confusing because this part of the defensive zone, but you got man down here and now you got man follow here. So, and you got a full contingent, 6 guys from Tulsa in the box. And let me roll it forward a little bit.
So the middle of the field should be open in this configuration.
And boy, was it.
Because I haven't seen this, guys. For those of you, this is the first time I've seen this. But the middle of the field, in this configuration, the middle of the field should be wide open.
Because you got him. He's taking him.
Yep.
He's looking at him. I don't know what he's going to do with him.
He's looking at him. He's looking at him thinking that he's got middle coverage because he's the linebacker. So he's dropping just into underneath coverage. But he's thinking he's got somebody over the top help. But what he doesn't know is that over the top has been taken up by a post route on the bottom.
So,
he's wide open.
I think this is what you call a peek. That's what the linebacker's doing. He's just peeking. He's just looking to see where he goes.
That's exactly what it's called.
And so as this rolls, Larry, what part of the field did you say would be wide open?
The middle of the field.
You mean like this guy? On the hot route.
And I'm talking about there's nobody around him.
There's nobody in the screen.
No, there's not. And if you could get a wider shot, he's got a walk first down.
Yeah, because again, remember, okay, and I didn't even think about that guy being so wide open.
Oh, yeah.
Because remember, Ivory, I think it was, or it may have been Rogers, took the post. So he took, again, good play design because now to the man the man side, you've got two options. And Bryan,
This is where doesn't he run and it's another unnecessary hit
yes,
or
it's
unnecessary bodily, touch or whatever you want to call it. It just,
it's just a touch too soon. But again, I wonder, because he's climbing the pocket right here. He's fine right here. But I think he knows that this guy's closing in on him pretty fast. And so
he's got time. He's got time. But it's easy for us to sit here and look at this like this, but he's got time. He can certainly make that throw.
And you roll this forward. We got away with a little hold there, but we're not going to talk about it.
We're not worried about a hold.
But man, Jay Ducker's blocking in this game was top notch. I didn't get to look at the PFF stats. I didn't have a chance, but he had to have had some good numbers because his blocking was off the charts. And Bryan, this is what you're talking about. That's one of those really unnecessary hits that you don't have to take. All right, so let's go to the Ross INT here. Let's get back to some good. Let me clear that. John Maddox is not a video editor, so that's why you see that. Okay. So right here, Memphis is showing that's 7 guys.
Right.
And Tulsa is actually 2x2. They've got 2 receivers either side. So he's bailing like he should be. He should be bailing off here because you don't want to give up anything cheap through there. And as we roll it forward, so pre-snap, Bryan, here's what Bryn is looking at. Bryn sees 7 guys at the line of scrimmage pre-snap.
Knowing we're probably going to bring at least 5. Thinking we're going to bring at least 5 minimum.
All right. But then this is actually not Bryn. This is Braxton. This is the backup QB here. But then we bail, and not only do we bail, but watch this guy. I think that's Duckworth right there. He actually comes inside out a little bit, and
it's called a twist.
Yeah, he's coming out, and they do a pretty good job. It is Brent, actually. They do a pretty good job of picking that up. And what you can't see downfield is Memphis only brought 4, so they dropped. So that takes the underneath route away. And what's usually open when you run a zone, middle of the field. But what you can't see here on this play, boy, Ross made a nice play. Came off his man, kind of baited. Bryan, I think he probably baited Brent into that throw a little bit, just kind of hanging back because he was one of the ones up on the line.
Yeah, he felt the pressure, and he just freaked out a little bit and had to get the ball out. He felt too much pressure.
And hey, that's the interception Memphis didn't drop. They seriously had 2 or 3 more that they just dropped.
At least 3 more.
So, and Ross does a good job here again, just, stepping in front. I mean, and being prepared to do something when you step in front. All right, one last thing here before we move on. We get a lot of conversation about, why does Memphis play so far off defensively? So this is when you hear Larry, Bryan, or me talk about shelling up, this is what we're talking about. Basically, don't think of John's drawing skills. Think of a turtle shell right here. Now, let's see, I can even do one better here.
Is this is 2nd and 6?
Yeah, this is 3rd and 6. This is the play after the fumble. Gosh, that's terrible. This is the play after the fumble. So they're on the 25-yard line there. And it's 3rd down. And as we roll this forward, you even see him start to bail. So this is true zone. I think he even bails up at the top there. I think this is and this is what we talk about when we talk about shell. Yeah. We do bring the linebacker.
Blitz.
Yeah, we do blitz, but everybody else is dropping. And, this is perfect offense because the running back has no one to hit. And that's what you want offensively is the running back to literally have no one. And we'll run this forward.
Right.
And then right in the, gosh, I can't find my cursor anymore. Right in the heart of that, whoops, a little too far there. Yeah, I don't know what I did there. Okay, moving on. Yeah, wrong file, folks.
He drops him right. It's called dropping it in the bucket. It's between the spot between the cornerback and the safety in that zone. There's a soft spot on the deep out, and it's really hard for the safety to get there. And again, a quarterback can drop that in the bucket is what they call that. And he's again, it's a good route, and that's good. That's a perfect play call against the zone. Because that's where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, and then the question becomes, why are you calling zone on 3rd and 6 at your 25? But but you still blitzed out of it. You still brought some pressure. They just did a good job of picking it up. So, Bryan, what was the thing that probably impressed you most about this game?
Defensively, it's what I felt Memphis needed to play. They brought pressure. They didn't give up a ton of yardage. I don't think they gave up a lot on 3rd down. Let me check. Tulsa was only 3 of 15. I think the defensive line, Coach Pope, he preaches what fast and violent or whatever that mantra is, and that's what you saw. Last week was fast and violent. So I think heading into next week's game, I want to see more of the same. Just for me, it has offense. It's still the offense, but I was impressed with the defense. I thought this was probably the best game I saw Memphis play defensively this year, right offhand.
For me, it was all about special teams and controlling field position. I know. Shocking, but the special teams controlled the field position the whole game. We didn't give up. And John, I think you even tweeted it out. I think that's the most punt return yards we've had the whole year. If it's not, it's way up there. And again, you mentioned it earlier, starting field position. That's enormous, right? I mean, that's an entire 2 first down difference. So
I think that's the first game that you could say that special teams didn't hurt you. I don't remember one bad special teams play.
No, not only did it not hurt you,
it helped
you can make the argument it won the game for you, because after the first 2 touchdowns we got 4 field goals, and Howard was perfect. Every time we got into the red zone, we scored. Guys, I mean, if you do that, now again, it is not a work of art. I mean, this is a Kirk Ferentz special here, but I mean, and we've sort of texted back and forth on this. Maybe that's the way, because I've mentioned, how does he like to play? Maybe that really is what Silverfield likes to play. Now, look, it's a win. A win is a win. Is that going to be pleasing to the palate of Memphis fans? Hey, look, that's not what we're talking about this week. This week we're talking about breaking a 4-game losing streak, and that's what we did. So, I guess after a 4-game losing streak, I don't really care how they broke it. Right? Doesn't matter.
No, I mean, not really. It doesn't matter to us. I just think that Memphis just needed a win. They just needed to find a way to win. And, you hope for a lot of different reasons that this is not how everything goes. And we've beat that to death. I don't want to get into that. But, football is now a game about content and about the quality of the product and the excitement of the product. And, this wasn't pretty, but it got the job done. And, again, now you're sitting at 5-5, and we'll talk about them in a second, but you've got North Alabama coming in, a chance to get to 6. You will be the last bowl eligible team in the AAC. You'll be number 7. So, that's the minimum standard. And when the season, Bryan, got off the rails kind of the way it did, this is going to be a minimum standard kind of year, I think.
Yeah, for next week, I know we've talked about it that I think Memphis needs to come out and win handedly, and we talked about we don't I need to see the score run up. I need to see a good 55-10 performance, and I know folks will say, especially you, John, it's you don't see it. Sofield doesn't play that way. He's not like that. But I guess for the morale, to really stomp a mud hole into someone that does something to for the team, I think the team needs that. I mean, if it's a 28-10 game, I mean that's deflating. It really is against a 1-9 FCS team. I mean, this really needs to be a beatdown.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, John.
It does, and it could be, but I have seen no evidence this year. And again, this will easily be the worst team we've played. This will probably be the worst team we've played in 2 or 3 years. They are.
I'll tell you what. I think this is the worst team we played since that Austin P team back in 2015 to open the season.
I mean, these guys are so bad that Tennessee Tech beat them last week.
And look, and I appreciate that. Look, I love my alma mater with all my heart, but the Tech team is not good this year, and they hung 38 and ran all over NAU. If we don't run the football this week, guys, we just can't run the football.
Well, I think I
can't get there.
Bryan, I think I texted that. I was like, if we can't run the ball this week, I have abandoned hope, all ye who enter here. I just
I mean, it's this has got to happen. I'm going to research that. When's the last time Memphis did not have a 100-yard rusher in a game for the entire season? That it's got to be in forever.
And here's the thing, guys, and this is really it in a nutshell. Competitors, when you go out and you're competing every week, it gets to the point of, and I hate, we always bring up Josh Pastner, and I hate to keep bringing him up, but this is really what happens, is that at some point the players they're frustrated, and they rely on their coaches to tell them, hey, okay, here's how, and they want to see the stuff the coaches are telling them give tangible results. And at some point, I'm not saying that's where we're at. Don't get this twisted at all. But this happened with Pastner. At some point, the players stopped listening because they didn't believe what he was going to tell them would work. That's just a fact.
Well,
and we need to see the players need to see tangible results. I think that's what you're talking about, John.
Yeah, and even from again, I'm just a dumb guy with a podcast, but even from our perspective,
yep.
We hear it every week in the press conferences. We're just, little things. Like, I think I've kept a little things count the last 3 weeks, and excluding Bryan, I've probably heard that phrase 400 times in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and we're so close. This needs to be the week that I don't sit in that press conference and hear those words. Well, the little things just held us back this week. It needs to be, you know what? We came out, Memphis came out, we executed. We got young guys in the game, because Bryan, that's what's really important to me for this game is Sutton Smith.
If it's not a complete blowout, then I expect to see, Tevin Carter play if he's healthy. I think there's a bunch that had the flu or something to that effect. But yeah, we need to see Sutton Smith, Tevin Carter, some backups play. I think Coffee hasn't played in a while. We definitely need to see players who haven't played much. Definitely need to get them some playing time, because you only got 2 games left, so it's not like you're going to burn a red shirt with anybody.
Well, the other thing, guys, is that conferences normally limit the roster. So a conference, you can normally only dress like 68 or whatever guys. But on a non-conference game, you have no restrictions. So they can literally dress everybody that's on the roster, and they're eligible to play this week. And to your point, Bryan, guys that don't normally dress, this is the game they need to get in. They need, this is this needs to be 55-3 or 55-10, and we're playing, the fourth stringers. Seriously, this is what we need.
They're not only playing for, this year. You're playing for next year. Get playing in, get that pressure of a game, get a game experience in this year.
The speed of college football, because I'm going to tell you, I know this for a fact. You can't simulate that in practice. You get out there and all of a sudden it's like, oh my goodness. Okay.
Man, these guys are a lot bigger up close.
Oh yeah. And fast, and everything is they talk about the game slowing down. It's not the game slows down. It's that your brain just speeds up. You're like, okay, I got to do everything faster. And that's sort of what happened on that Ivory play, where Ivory just got on top of him a hell of a lot faster than he was expecting. That's what happened.
And it's also senior day on Saturday. I meant to count before the show tonight, and I got so wrapped up trying to get the video stuff working. But Memphis will honor their seniors before the game. The game kicks off at 1 p.m. It is on good old ESPN Plus. And it's going to be cold. I meant to share that. Let me see if I can find that real quick, because I'm not going to be able to find it. But the high, I believe, on Saturday is not great. It's like in the 40s, if memory serves correctly, like the low 40s. And I saved it. Of course, I'm not going to be able to find it on such short notice. But, the high temperature on Saturday is not good. It's going to be very cold on Saturday. It's not going to be, a nice, warm, late fall day. Highs are going to be in the low 40s.
Alabama thing, because Silverfield has never won in temperatures 40 or below.
I think it'll be a little higher than 40, so it'll be actually in the 40s.
Yeah, 40 below, so 49 and below. He's 0-1. So Memphis has only played one, I guess, in the past 3 years of a cold temperature.
And it's going to be cold. The good thing is it's going to be sunny, so and not real windy, but it's still going to be pretty cold. It starts at 1 p.m., and if Memphis can run the damn ball, we will look up at the scoreboard at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium at 3:08 or 4:08 p.m., Larry Marley, and it will say...
It's going to say 48-13. And I would love for us to get into the 50s, but I think we're going to score quite a bit early and then play a whole bunch of guys in the second half. And I there's just no excuse for this to even be close, guys.
Bryan?
What did you say, 38-14?
48.
Man, 48 was what I was going to guess. So, I guess you took my score. So I'll change it. I'll say 50. Well, I'll say the 55-10 that I did before, because that's what I want. I think Memphis really needs to win this game 55-10. Old prediction, though. Think of one.
Yeah, I'll come back to that in a minute. I'm thinking, again, negative Nancy here, shocking. 31-10, something like that, something in that ballpark, because I just think that's how we're built. I don't think we're built to go into a game, even a game like this, and score 60 points. I just don't feel like that's how we're built. I don't feel like that's how we call games. And I think the goal with Saturday is the same goal that all these SEC teams have. They're playing these same type of games on Saturday. Get a lot of young guys in the game. Don't get anybody hurt. Those are the two goals, because you feel like you definitely should win this game, no matter what. They do have a very dynamic running back. I am going to be curious to see how Memphis handles Shanderick. He's got over 1,500 yards on the season. And I went back and looked because I could not believe what I saw. And I got to go look again because I still don't believe it. Without you guys looking, how many yards do you think our leading rusher on the season has?
Probably 300, 400 yards.
No. I'm going to say 280.
No, it's shocking. It's Asa Martin, Bryan. And
yeah, it is. I knew that.
330.
Yeah. That's what I say. I was like, he's not even your third. I mean, I think he's your third stringer right now. Well, was.
And again, I know it's an FCS team, and I know that they're going to struggle, but that running back has more yards than our top 6, 7, 8
combined,
than everybody who's touched the ball this year. Gabe Rogers, Sutton Smith, Brandon Thomas, Seth Hennigan, Jay Ducker,
and he's legit, guys. I mean, look, I know. I've watched him play against Tennessee Tech. I get that we're not very good, but that kid's got moves, and he's gonna get yards on us. Now, how many? I mean, are we gonna give up 180 yards? Nah, probably not. But I mean, I could totally see him rushing for 80 yards and a touchdown. I could definitely see that.
Yeah, everybody that has touched the ball for Memphis combined this year on the ground has rushed for 1,332 yards. He's got 1,535 on the season. That's crazy. All right, Bryan, back to you. Your bold prediction, sir.
Bold prediction is that Powell, their fantastic running back, will not have 100 yards against Memphis. Because I really do think, because they're one-dimensional. I think Barnes can focus in on Powell and limit him to, I'd say, 75 yards. I don't think he gets over 100. So that's my bold prediction. And probably a bolder prediction is Memphis probably won't get 100 yards either.
If we don't get 100 yards rushing this week, yeah, that doesn't bode well.
That is a bold prediction. My bold prediction is that Kevin Carter completes a pass in this game.
Well, I'm going to be really bold. Eddie Lewis returns a punt for a touchdown.
Thought about that. I thought about that.
Because, man, I went back and watched. He was
close.
Very close on that first big run back he had. He was one block away. Bryan, to steal your thunder again, little things. He was one block away from taking that in the house. But I'm going to predict. Oh, and I totally failed. Guys, we totally forgot. Memphis actually blocked a punt on Saturday. They tipped it, and it went 53 yards. Tipped. That's a pretty dang good punt. And I don't know on Tulsa's first punt, I don't know how we didn't block it.
Yeah, that was the one where he hit the kid. And
no, we didn't touch him.
I thought we were going to hit him. I thought we were going to hit him. We almost hit the punter, and somehow the ball like squirts between our kids' arms somehow.
But anyway, Memphis got a block. Again, I forget which one of you said it, but like this is a game where special teams really, really helped us versus holding us down. Well, Bryan, I know you're probably not going to have Memphis versus North Alabama starters this week.
Yeah, probably. I'll check to see if Pro Football Focus has those FCS stats. I don't think they do, but I'll check. If they do, I'll throw up those stats. They probably won't have much of a comparison. Coming out of high school, they probably don't have a lot of stars, so I may just scrap those two articles. But we'll discuss more on the message boards about the different classes, recruiting classes, and how they fared. We have that up right now. It's a good discussion.
Yeah, it's a good, very frank discussion of the last 3 years, and some of the numbers to that are a little astounding to me. Just the sheer number of kids that aren't here anymore, and the ones that are not participating very much. I'll be at the game, of course, on Saturday. I'll have full coverage for the last time this year from Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. Senior Day. Are they doing Danton Bartow on Saturday too?
Yes.
Yeah. Danton, I'm sure everybody knows. Danton Bartow was a linebacker at U of M. He still holds the, I think, career and single season tackle records. We lost Danton in 2020 to COVID, and they are retiring, long overdue, officially retiring his number. Just a couple other news and notes. Memphis is at St. Louis right now. I haven't seen a score yet in basketball. Quite a few rough tests out of the gate for Penny Hardaway's squad. Also, I
don't think they've started yet, John.
Starts at 8. So I'll get to catch some of that. A non college sports news. Came out today, press conference, that the Memphis Showboats are returning. The USFL, of course, came back last year. They were going to come back in 20, but they came back in 21, and they played all of their games in Birmingham last year. And this year they've added 2 other hub cities, Memphis and Detroit. But the big news out of the press conference was that the Memphis Showboats are coming back. That is the positive news. However, the negative news is they ruined a top 5 logo in any sports of any time. That Memphis Showboats logo was off the charts good. And this one looks like they went on Upwork or 99 Designs and had a bidding contest, and somebody did some clip art. But so we'll have pro football in April in Memphis.
And my understanding was they didn't. So when the USFL, the reconstituted USFL, really they didn't go in and buy the original logos. They just purchased the trademark team names, so they could not use the original logos unless they bought them. And apparently they just couldn't get the Showboats. I don't know. They couldn't get the trademark. I think they have some of the other ones, correct, that they're using.
I haven't looked at all of them, but
I don't know either, guys. But that's my understanding. That's what I was told today, was that they could not use the original one because it was trademarked and they couldn't get it. So there's somebody that owns the old USFL trademark.
Well, Steve Earhart. He owns the Showboats. Yeah, because
I had no idea. So okay,
he's still got the dollar that they won in that ridiculous and the dumbest lawsuit of all time that they tried to pull. Other news that came out of that, Brian, I don't know if you heard, but they announced Brady White as the quarterback.
I saw something. I didn't know if he was going to be a coach or a player. But
announced him as quarterback, and he was on Tampa last year, which is what Memphis actually is this year. Tampa Bay is, quote, on hiatus, and Memphis, they basically moved the team to Memphis. So Todd Haley's going to be the coach
at the start. I said if he's playing, hopefully he gets a chance to start.
Yeah, you hope that, and that will, look, at least the first couple of weeks, that'll help attendance. I mean, it's not going to be a fix, but it'll be better probably than the AAF was in terms of quality. Obviously better.
Well, Haley is a much better coach than who was the linebacker, Chicago Bears linebacker. I can't remember.
Mike Singletary.
Singletary was not a good coach in the first. Haley was at least a good coach. I mean,
well, and not to get too deep into this, but I told everybody what would make the AAF successful or not. Same thing's going to make the USFL successful. Quarterback play. If you have crummy quarterback play, nobody is going to watch the league. And, like it or not, that's, if chicks dig the long ball, chicks dig quarterbacks too, because that's what drives the league. So hope they're successful. This is a good little, I think they did miss a bit on the nostalgia front, kind of a swing and a miss there. But a lot of Memphians have very fond memories of the Showboats. We were we were by far the most successful from a business perspective. We led the league in attendance either both years or the second year. At typical crowds, mid-30s, low 40s. We had a couple low 40s. Very successful team.
The only sellout in regular season history.
Yeah, and then they sold out the playoff game against Denver that they lost here. The Denver Gold. Boy, the USFL had some great names. But anyway, kudos to them. Good luck. More football is never a bad thing.
Spring is a great time in terms of weather. You can be hit or miss rain-wise. But I went to many a game in April and May in the Liberty Bowl, and it was, especially like early mid-May, man, that is a great time for football, folks. It's for those of you who go to the spring game. I mean, how great was the weather at the spring game last year, guys? I mean, John, you and I mean, it was awesome.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, it is.
But anyway, so we'll have coverage all day Saturday, and then again I'm headed to Dallas the next week for SMU. One of the other things we're talking about on the board are the bowl possibilities. I've heard some crazy things, but the craziest one I think I've heard was today when Stuart Mandel suggested that Memphis was going to play in the Liberty Bowl. I'm not going to get into all the details, but I firmly believe, and I will die on this hill, that Memphis would turn down a bowl bid before they played in the Liberty Bowl game again. It wasn't good. Again, I don't want to get into all the gory details, but it wasn't a good fit.
It will be.
No, I don't think so. I don't. Our friend John Summerall says it's going to be Larry's favorite Shreveport. Larry is still the president of the conventions and visitors bureau down there in Shreveport, Bossier City.
It's the worst southern city by far, and second only to Flint, Michigan, as the worst city in the United States.
Man, Larry's love for Shreveport knows no
and
bounds.
if you haven't driven by that stadium that they call a stadium, I mean, it literally looks like a giant rust pit.
Bryan, you were saying?
I was just saying, personal reason, I really hope for the Fenway Bowl.
I think
the coaches would prefer the Fenway Bowl because it's earlier. Because was it for 17th or something?
Yeah, it's the 17th. It's the second day of the bowl games. I think they would prefer that, and you probably prefer that because you're going to get a P5 team.
Well, and then your game's done with, and you can focus on recruiting because because then you'll have. I'd have to look. I don't know if the signing day is before or after the 17th, but then you still. I mean, even if it's before, you have the rest of your time to not worry about a bowl, but focus on recruiting for the February signing date.
If I had to guess, and this is purely a guess, and again, this is, we're talking about, we got to win on Saturday, but I feel pretty good about our chances going into this one. If I had to guess, although some people say, well, Memphis isn't good enough for Birmingham. Well, Birmingham is very unlikely to field an SEC team. SEC struggling they actually need 10 teams to fill all their bowl slots. They're going to be sitting at 7 or 8. So I think that's not going to be a P5 matchup. I think they're going to have to take somebody from the Sun Belt or like Coastal Carolina, somebody like that. If I had to guess right now, my guess would be Birmingham. If I just had to throw it out there, because you're probably going to get Tulane slated to Shreveport, because that makes a ton of sense for a lot of reasons. You're going to have Houston in one of the Texas Bowls. You're going to have UCF is probably in the New Year's Six. So the AAC is actually, if that happens, the AAC is actually short a team.
Well, what East Carolina be in the area? Would East Carolina go up to Fenway?
Because to me, just my thing, although this doesn't matter, I don't think in the scheme of things, to me, you should reward your better teams with a better opportunity, right? Not send one of your mediocre teams to play a mediocre team from a P5. Because you want to give your good teams a bigger stage, a bigger opportunity to win a game. And against a P5 school. And I just, the Gasparilla Bowl is one I've heard. I've heard Independence Bowl, but I feel like, Shreveport's going to end up with Tulane because that makes a lot of sense. But you've got the Military Bowl out there. You've got Fenway out there. You've got, what else? You've got First Responders. This is all on the board, but you've got, I think there are technically 8 or 9 bowls. And what this does is, and no, Johnny, the school does not even get a remote say in this at the G5 level. So basically what it is it's called the pool. And instead of tying conferences to certain bowls, what ESPN says is because ESPN, well, it's not a secret, they own and operate about, I think it's 30 of the 42 bowl games. So they take the AAC, the Sun Belt, Conference USA, the independents like BYU, and your lower P5 teams, basically 5, 6, and down, and they just put them all in a pool. And what they're looking for are matchups. And I'll just spill it, Bryan. You and I were texting back and forth this week. One of the rumored matchups was Memphis and Fenway against Florida State. Oh, number one, that ain't going to happen because Florida State's going to be in a little bigger bowl. But number two, there is no way that Mike Norvell signs off on that. And look, Florida State's one of those schools, they can kind of say, we will do that. No, we won't. Just like Tennessee would say, no, we're not playing Memphis and Birmingham, or we're not playing Memphis. And if Vanderbilt made a bowl, Memphis isn't playing Vanderbilt. They have a little more cachet. And I just, that's not who Mike is. He wouldn't want to take a chance on embarrassing Memphis. He's still very appreciative of his time. He mentioned it in a press conference the other day. I wonder sometimes if he don't miss Memphis. But, this is going to be an ESPN decision, and they're going to look for matchups. If Louisville's there and Memphis is there, maybe Fenway is the call. Maybe they go there to match up those old rivals. Or, I've seen 2 predictions for BYU and Birmingham. If they have a chance to relive the 2014 Miami Beach Bowl, they're going to do that, because with these bowl games, it's just matchups, right, guys? It's just attractive matchups for television. That's all this, because they're exhibition games. Once you get outside the top 4, these are just exhibition games and chances for kids to get PlayStations. But hey, one bit of great news about the bowls: we are not subject to the Hawaii Bowl this year. Like we said about the Tulsa, that's a win right there. We don't have to worry about wins, and that's actually a good article. I'll put together something this week that is as best I can find. I'll list all the bowls and the payouts and the dates.
And there is zero chance that we'll have to have anything to do with Todd Graham this year.
Yeah. Wow, man, we're on a roll here. Won't have to go to Hawaii, although the kids loved it because they got to go out there and do nothing for a couple days and got all the bowl swag. But yeah, so I'll work on that this week. I'll put something together, kind of laying out the options, and I hope I'm not putting the cart before the horse here, but I really feel pretty good about Saturday.
I'll say this right now: if we lose this game, we will be looking for a coach. I'll say that straight.
Oh yeah,
probably looking for a lot of things, because that you lose them. I think a lot of people should go.
Yeah, I don't think people understand how bad North Alabama is. But anyway, so I'll work on that this week. I'll put together a list of the dates. And Brian, I hadn't thought about that, but that is an excellent point with the new early signing day and all the changes in the recruiting calendar. The sooner you can get these exhibitions out of the way, the better.
And I know, I speak to a lot of coaches around the country, and if they're not in one of those New Year's Six bowls or a high prestige, bowls, they want early. They want early bowl. I know I spoke to someone in Florida State, and they're like, if we had a chance, if things don't go the way they think it should go, and and they're in one of the lower bowls, they're like, we want Fenway because it's December 17th, and we get to go home. They get to go home before Christmas, and they worry about recruiting. They can jump on recruiting, get a head start over everyone else, because a lot of the other coaching staffs, you have to worry about recruiting and prepare for the bowl. If you play on December 17th, all you have to do after that is just worry about recruiting.
Yeah, it is a pretty big advantage. So, who knows? We will not find out. Well, I can't say we won't. I think some of the bowls will come out after the last games on the 26th. I think some of them where it doesn't matter. You'll see a few of them kind of trickle out. Like BYU will know where they're going. Army, I don't know if they're bowl eligible this year, but Army would know where they're going because they have agreements with certain bowls. Most likely it'll be after the championship games before even Memphis knows. And that's where the early bowl stinks, is you get less than 2 weeks to prepare. And look, the coaches want to win. They don't want to go lose, because this will be if Memphis lost the bowl game, this would be our first losing record since 13.
9 years.
So nobody wants that. So, well, that's going to do it for this week. Hopefully we will be talking more about bowl games and bowl eligibility after Saturday. Better be. So for the best co-hosts in all the land, Brian Moss and Larry Marley, this is John Maddox signing off, and we will talk to everybody next week.